I'm Sullivan. Welcome to my crib. Come on in. I know we're not in Mariah's closet, but this is the most productive room in our house, the basement sink room. It is a great space. I'm so grateful to have it. I get so much stuff done down here. Most recently, I've been using this as an at-home ceramics materials lab from end of January now until May. This is also the seed starting room. So I thought I'd give you guys a quick tour and go over some of the supplies. So hopefully you got your seed orders in. Unfortunately, due to really high demand from home gardeners for a second year in a row and reduced staffing capabilities, people have to keep distance. It's harder for people to be fully staffed and keep social distancing measures in place. So a lot of the businesses in seed distribution are kind of struggling because there is demand, but it's also super challenging for them to be running at full steam. I would just urge you to be patient. Lighting. A light source is going to be really important. You certainly can put a couple seeds, especially things that love chill, like sweet peas or beans and things like that. You can just pop them in some moist potting mix and stick them in a windowsill, and they will most likely sprout for you. But a lot of the cut flowers and annuals that people like to start from seed require a light source to get them going. You can use any kind of light fixture. It can be a regular light bulb fixture like the clip-on shop light that I use for a work light over this table, to a fluorescent light fixture, to there are now a lot of, I would call them affordable because as far as equipment goes, LED panel lights that offer really, really cool temps and incredibly bright wattage for your seedlings. I would call them affordable even though they still range from somewhere in the $100 to $200 range. But when you're looking at some of these systems that are promoted by people via sponsored posts, of shelving units with built-in lights and things like that, you're talking about $700-800. So I think most people would be better served by assembling a few items on a budget. Lighting can be as simple or as complex as you would like to make it. If you are just starting a handful of seeds, then I think a small light fixture with a grow light bulb. You want to make sure you're getting a light bulb that is rated for the proper light spectrum for growing. These are not expensive light bulbs by any means, but they are different than a standard light bulb. And as long as you can put it in a fixture and aim it on the plants, ideally you want to be able to position it close to the plants if it's a fluorescent or incandescent light bulb fixture. The new LEDs are designed to operate at the same strength, provide the same amount of light to the plants from a further distance. So that's why you see that the LED lights, which I only have 2 of on this fixture, are much higher, and the fluorescent light fixtures, when I just turn them on for the video, these are the anemones and ranunculus, they're actually not getting light currently, I can raise and adjust them so that they're at the right height. If you'd like to set up a shelving unit with lights attached to it, like I have here, these are readily available at Home Depot garage type shelving units. I want to say they run anywhere from $60 to $80. I happen to have had tons of them. There is a bigger part to this basement that we're just not close enough friends yet that I'm willing to show you my actual storage part of the basement, where I keep a lot of my wedding inventory and supplies that we use regularly, like candles and things like that. And then the last thing is if you are buying new equipment this year, buy the best LED light fixture you can afford if you can. I got these just last season after having had the fluorescent system for 2 seasons, and they are about the same price as the 4-foot fixtures with 4 to 8 bulbs, but the lower temperature is so much better for a lot of the flowers that I like to grow, which prefer cooler temps through germination. The fluorescent fixtures really do throw off a fair amount of heat. So if you can swing it and you're interested in buying just maybe 1 or 2 lights to grow under, I would highly recommend the LED light panel lights. They're also small and easy to work with. Not sponsored. You want seed starting mix. So something that's a seed starter or seedling potting mix. You want it to be specifically focused on seedlings. It's a finer quality of soil. It's been screened or ground up, or it's extra decomposed or something. But basically it's fine enough so that the roots can take root. So you want to make sure you use a good quality seed starting mix. I have tried all of them, from Jiffy to some of the Pro Mix options to Espoma. Last year, because things were shutting down, I used whatever I could round up enough of. And I want to say it was the Jiffy one, and I hated it. I thought it was terrible. All right, so you want labels. You need to label these things. Because you know what? Just like all dahlia tubers look the same in the middle of winter, all seedlings pretty much look the same in the beginning. So you want a durable, weatherproof label. And then last year I used Sharpies, and they just didn't make it through the season. By the time I got them outside to harden off, they were already fading. So you want to use a garden marker. I'll put a link to, this was a very cheap box of garden markers, and they have worked incredibly well. I would love to find a biodegradable plant tag that can make it through the season before biodegrading, but doesn't cost $1 a piece. You will find really lovely wooden plant tags, which are, of course, they will decompose if left outside long enough, but they're really expensive. They're close to $1 a piece. And they're also really big and unwieldy. I have tried popsicle sticks. Again, not the most durable, especially when they're in constant contact with something damp. So as much as I am really, really trying to avoid single-use plastic, I have yet to find a biodegradable option for tagging, which I would love, because once the seedlings start to really grow on, you kind of need to label every single plant or you're going to start to lose track. As much as you think you will know what the plant is by grouping them together, once you start doing the Tetris plant tray shuffle on the light racks to try to make sure everything's getting enough light, and is it the right height from the lights, everything will start to get mixed up and you will have no idea what something is. And I speak from experience there. Containers, pots, and trays. There are lots of options available, from individual cell packs in different sizes to compostable pots to more durable nursery containers. If you're not growing a ton of seeds, you really do not need small cell propagation trays. You can just go ahead and start a couple seeds just to ensure you get germination in a larger size pot, anywhere from, this is like 2.5. This is a deeper version, wider, 4-inch, 3 or 4-inch. So all of these things in this type of semi-rigid plastic are going to be a lot more durable than some of the single-use trays. This year I decided to try a slightly heavier duty format of plastic tray called more, so they're labeled specifically as propagation trays. And this one I think is really going to be great. These are 38 cells. So this is a pretty good sized plug for a seedling. Every year I try to learn a few things and do some things differently. And one of the things is now I have some experience because I'm growing a lot of the same things. I kind of know how fast things grow, what needs to be potted up repeatedly, what's really fast growing. So like, for example, I had to pot up my hollyhocks 3 separate times last year to get them to 6-inch nursery cans. So to minimize the amount of work for that, I'm going to start them in probably the 2.5-inch pots, grow them on, and then if I start them at the right time, I may not be able, or I may not have to pot them up, but if they do have to get potted up, I'll be doing it once instead of 3 times. So there are some things that just as you grow them repeatedly, you learn to put them in containers that are closest to the size they're gonna be when you're ready to harden them off. The other thing that I find about these cell trays is that they encourage you to plant too many of things. Because you don't want to write a label for every individual cell, you're suddenly starting 6 to 12 to a whole tray of 48 or 72 of these plants. And for most home gardeners, that's just more than anyone needs. And it's how you end up with 5,000 seedlings sitting on shelves. And my goal this year is to really reduce what I'm growing so that I'm really growing the things that I know that when I get them out into the landscape, they are going to do what I want them to do to fill in the spaces or let me cut from them without feeling like I'm growing everything just because I can grow it as a cut flower. So another thing that you can invest in, which is more of a commercial grower type of product, is a very rigid, it's a specific type of polypropylene plastic with big drainage holes in the bottom. This one is this one is a lot. A lot of cells, and this one is even more. And I bought these because I knew that there was absolutely no way that they were going to break after one season's use. And based on what I'm growing, I know that I can sow almost everything I'd like to start in these and then start potting them on, which means that I will really only be running 2 lights to get most of these to germinate. And then I will be able to pull out these true plugs and pot them up and move them on. So the last way to avoid the cell trays, the disposable cell trays, is to use a soil blocker. They come in a few sizes. This is a 4-inch one. I'm going to probably do a video or include this in the actual seed starting video, but I got this one so that I could use paper to wrap. That's a 4-inch block of soil. I can use biodegradable recycled craft paper to wrap it as a pot, and that will decompose really easily. And so my goal would be to never buy more of these things, because between saving nursery pots, which I save every pot that I buy a plant in, and the different things I've collected over the years, there's just, you have to store all this stuff. It's like Christmas stuff. You want to make sure it's worth taking the space up. And also, all of these have to get washed and sterilized. So you have to want to do that. So this feels a lot easier to wash and sterilize between rounds than 100 million little tiny cells. And one thing I just wanted to touch on This is what a tray, let me hold it up so you can see the light through it, with drainage holes looks like. They were basically the same. I got the trays and things are usually sold in 3 grades. Heavy duty, it's like large, extra large, and double extra large in terms of strength. I got the heaviest duty I could find because once plants are in them, whether they're wet soil blocks or propagation trays or things like that, they get heavy, and a lot of people carry trays from the edge, which you probably shouldn't. You should carry them from the bottom, but the corners tear. So buy the heaviest duty products you can so that they will last. How will I water the open bottom trays? In this giant plastic catch-all tray that I got. It holds 4 trays across, and I can fill it with a 1/2 inch of water, let it soak it up, pop those back on the shelf, put in the next round. I would rather have to drop the trays in and know that they're not retaining too much moisture than have my plants sitting in a 1/2 inch of water that they didn't need to use. There's a few things that I would consider optional equipment. I have a few of these very affordable 24-hour thermometers. So they check the humidity level and they record the temperature for a 24-hour cycle, so you can see what the coldest temp that your plants got to and the hottest temp. I try to keep it, I usually hang it somewhere near the fixture, because if it's too close to the lights, it's just going to get hot from the lights. If you're using an incandescent or a fluorescent light fixture, you probably do not need a seedling heat mat. Heat mats really are for people who are growing in, if you're growing in like a greenhouse or a cold frame where the temperature is below, around 60 degrees, you're going to heat the bottom of the trays, and that's going to encourage the roots to reach down for the warmth. But a lot of the things that I like delphinium and larkspur and snapdragons, and a lot of the things that start early, 10 weeks, 12 weeks early, they don't like bottom heat. So while I have a few, I think I have 4 heat mats that I've collected over the years. They just, they're a definite optional. I think you can get away without using them if you're putting your trays in a warm spot under one of the lights. You're going to find a ton of videos on equipment and things that you can use to start seeds, but I'm not sure any of it is required. As somebody who really likes to do research and make my own determination for what's going to work best for my needs in my life, I don't think any of the pre-made kits are really the way to go, even though I know they're very popular and easy to promote here on YouTube. I just don't think they offer enough flexibility and versatility. As a fairly handy person, I like the idea of being able to make my space my own, and using a shelf that can be used for other things is a priority for me, since it, I may get to a place where I don't have to start anything inside. I can just put it out in a cold frame or a greenhouse, and I don't need all of this equipment. It's tempting to buy all the seeds, to look at the catalogs and want everything, but you really do not need tons of stuff. You don't need to do things just like your favorite YouTuber, whoever does, YouTube for me is the greatest place to find a ton of information on how other people do things, and then take that information in and find out my way of doing things. And I hope everybody is doing that. You do not need to follow a cookie cutter recommendation. What works for somebody in zone 5 may not work for me in zone 7, which may not work for somebody in zone 9. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing my seed starting setup and some of the equipment I'm using. I will be back soon with a ranunculus and anemone update, and then, because I'm waiting till it's the right time, it will finally be time to start some seeds. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you soon.